What are your happiest memories of being in foster care?
Um, I suppose being able to learn different things from different people. You know, you obviously meet a variety of people that offer different life skills, advice. You know, people obviously seen different things, and you learn obviously, I suppose, how to like judge people by obviously sitting there watching people. Because when you obviously enter a new home, you're like a foreign object essentially. You know, obviously when I was in care, it was like at the start was slightly different. It was more you were just there to be because you were there. You know, so you do learn to kind of sit back and learn people, but it's also good because then you can obviously judge people and know the type of people that you obviously want around you.
Off the top of your head, how many new foster carers did you have over a period of time?
30 plus.
30 plus, right. How many, I don't know how good your memory is, but how many
good.
Going through the front door in an evening for the first time in an evening or a morning, can you remember most of those front doors, most of those 30 front doors?
Probably more so from like 9 or 10 when you start understanding like what you're actually in. You know, as a kid you'd kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go there, they've told me to go here. When you're older you understand the system that you're in, so you obviously take a little bit step back. When you've been moved a couple of times, you're already expecting maybe to be moved on already, because you're fully aware of your own misdemeanors and your own flaws, and you know, and it gets to the point where you already think they're judging you before you even like walk through the door, because obviously they know about you but you don't know about them. So you always obviously the edge to feel out people. I suppose even in society, when you go to the bar or something, you obviously meet someone, you start talking, and you obviously build a rapport with somebody. You know, so it is a lot of that. When you obviously go in, it's a little bit like, hi, you know, like I'm Ant, and then they go, yeah, I know, you know? And your name is. So it's a little. I suppose it's like apprehension. Yeah? You know, you're a bit apprehensive to obviously go to people, but I suppose with me it got to the point where it was kind of normal, you know.
And is that I'm not sure if it's a skill, but is that sort of skill you've been able to carry on with you now into adult life?
Yeah, I mean it's helped me in a variety of jobs that I've had like over since I've obviously left school, but I would say I have a different mentality to a lot of foster kids out there. You know, I think you can go one of two ways. You can either think the system owes you something, or you use the system to get where you want. Started off on one side, went to the other, you know. And that's kind of what I've learned from foster care, to obviously use what's around you, make the best of a bad situation, and obviously to be understanding. I think you learn also to be understanding to people as well, because you're obviously entering their home, they might have children, you know, and obviously then they're like, oh, it's a kid, you know, you might be the same age. So you do learn to, I suppose, read situations and obviously be more of a people person, you know, but also some people can like recline and obviously become, you know, their own little space, and it can happen, you know.
But what about your advice to people? So the front door opening, front door opening Friday, 8 p.m, etc., and there's this 9-year-old or 14-year-old, or 18, whatever. What advice do you give them? What are the do's and don'ts?
I think a lot of my experience, bar maybe 2 or 3 foster carers, was it kind of felt like a formality. Like, here, this is your room, this is where you go to the toilet, this is the cupboard, we have meals here, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that, you know, and it gets to the point where you're just like, can I be a kid? You know, can I go out, can I play, can I go to my mate's house, can I just relax in my room? You know, so it does get to the point where I think the best situation is when I went to obviously Maisie's. It was very welcoming, you know, it was effortless. I connected with them. They asked me like, why have you moved so many foster carers, you know? Where does it stand with you? What is the feeling about why you keep causing problems, or why you're getting in trouble in school, you know? And obviously from there you then build a bit of trust and you explain more. So I think the do's and don'ts is, you know, if you're a foster carer, your ultimate goal should be to make the child part of the family. you know, because that way then you can obviously get to know the child, you can see his traits, you know, and obviously you get to know what type of person he is, and then I think from there you've got a good foundation to obviously alleviate a lot of maybe problems. There's general problems like going to school, getting suspended, you know, that was a lot of mine, you know. It was just not even attention span or anything, it was more, why bother, you know, because either way I'm maybe going to be moved in 2 months or time or something, you know. So I think the do's is make them feel welcome, you know. If you're obviously in a position where you've decided to be a foster carer, that's, you choose to become a parent to somebody for whatever space of time they're there. So you should, obviously it's difficult to treat somebody new exactly like your own child, but there should be that level where it's, you know, there's the cupboard, there's the fridge, you know, if you want to eat, if you need a towel, ask, you know, more, not so formal, if you understand what I mean, more.
What was it like, and I don't want to sound like David Attenborough, like you're, you know, some strange creature, etc. What was it like waking up in the morning, that first mornings when you're waking up, where am I?
Well, you kind of sit in your room, you know, until you hear someone like moving past, or, you know, someone like, you're alive, you know, you want some food. And then I think it's a case of, over the coming weeks, you kind of test the ground, you know, you see who's who, you know, can you get away with this, what annoys them, you know. I think for me, I was a bit different to maybe a couple of other foster kids, because I knew, like, if I didn't want to be somewhere, it was easy enough to move. That was how Havering worked, you know. They just, I think the shortest place I was in was like 4 days, you know. So I think it depends on the individual kid on how they feel in the morning. If they've gone through it like 10, 15, 20 times, you just kind of wake up and like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go out and do my thing. Whereas if it's maybe your first placement, you kind of pull yourself a little bit, you know. You're like, what's this, what's that, am I allowed to do that, are they up yet, you know, can I put the TV on? So it's very nerve-wracking, really, if you're not used to that experience, because obviously some foster kids come from their parents' home to a foster placement, so it is.
Were you quite a handful?
I was a handful, yeah.
What's
my language?
What's your advice to people who, in 2016, if there's a 12-year-old ant or a 16-year-old ant coming through that door,
make the most of it. You know, use the resources that is available for you. You know, at the time, as a kid, you don't ask for it. You know, you just kind of, I'll get on with it myself. You know, whereas now you kind of look back and go, they're actually offering more help than at the time you realise maybe. So if there is help on offer, you know, if you obviously don't understand the situation, I think a lot of it is not understanding maybe why you're there or why you should be there rather than at your parents. So make the most of it, you know. You're in obviously a safe environment, and it can be better, you know. Once you're obviously out of foster care, it is ultimately what you make of it for yourself, you know. Nothing's handed to you on a plate, unfortunately, whether you're a foster kid or not.
I don't want to be obvious to this question, but who was the best foster carer you had?
Mark and Maisie, definitely, yeah.
Tell us about your relationship with them.
Well, calling me mum, calling me dad, you know. I don't know, when I first went, we were having this conversation in the car. When I first came, it was on respite because I was having difficulties in my previous placement, which had just got put into with the previous one as well. And I think it was at that moment that I really learnt the lesson of don't judge books by its covers. You know, because obviously Ben and Sam, Mark and Maisie's sons, they were like completely the opposite of like me. I would be in maybe casual tracksuit, you know, night trainers, this and that, and Ben would be in a trench coat. But we clicked like instantly, you know. And then from then, you know, obviously as the problems persisted with my foster placement, they obviously put me with Mark and Maisie, and it's the first time that it became a family home rather than a foster placement, you know. And that's obviously carried on over the years, and well, they're my family now.
But what is it they did? What is it about the quality of their personality about that
made me feel safe? They reassured me that if I did mess up, you know, as long as it wasn't burning the house down, I still have a home. And I think they were more understanding of where I'd actually been up until that point of like why I was in care, why I was misbehaving in school, why I'd been to so many foster placements. And it kind of just sieved through all the rubbish until the point where I kind of got to the point where obviously maturity kicked in and I realised, well, I'm nearly 16, I've only got a couple more years, and this is what I've been looking for, you know. So I think for me, when I was going to places, it was more of a case of, it wasn't a family home, it wasn't a family environment, it was more of, I'm there because the last person didn't want me, because I was, well, in my eyes at the time, I was just being a typical teenager. But I think a lot of it stemmed from maybe misunderstanding while I was in foster care, maybe not being explained clearly, like the circumstances as to why I couldn't see certain family members. You know, all these things as a kid and going into a teenager, it's rather difficult to sit there at a group of people at your meeting and go, well, you know, this is bothering me, this is that, you know. So you do learn to not say stuff or say certain things, and you think, well, if I say that, are they going to judge? Or so it is a lot of, I think there's a lot more emotions involved going through the foster care system, and when you do find someone that kind of takes that away from you and says, listen, it's okay, you know, don't worry, you're all right, you're not that bad, you know, we can, if there's a problem, sit down, talk, and then you learn a different way of living, you know, you learn to live with people, you learn to obviously, right, I can actually talk to this person, you know, and I think that was kind of where it all clicked into place. You know, they were very understanding and welcoming, as they are with every other foster kid I've seen there.
You come here today to the Children First offices. Is this part, without sounding too American here, is this part you want to give back? You want to say thank you?
A little bit, yeah, but it's more to maybe let foster children know that after foster care there is a different life. You know, that you can go out and it's not, you know, once you're out of foster care, no one knows you've been in foster care unless you've told them, you know, and your circumstances only can affect your life if you allow them to. So I think a lot of it is maybe to let people, other foster kids know that are sitting there going, well, you know, am I going to get that home? Yeah, even if you don't, there is still a support system in place, and yeah, you can just be normal as I think every foster kid wants to be eventually, you know. There is that kind of foster kid and normal kid kind of thing, if you understand what I mean. You always, when I went to a new school, it'd always be he's just been with a foster family or whatever, so you're automatically like segregated, you know. Oh, why was you moved? Why are you here? How long are you here for? And it's like, I don't really want to answer that, you know. I just want to be, I've just moved with my family perhaps, you know. So I think, yeah, to show kids it's okay and foster care is not that bad. You know?
I mean, you're 24, 25 now, so
yeah, 25 next month.
A lot of years now having me out working.
Yeah, I've been working since the day I left school. You know, I started a fencing company on the Wembley site with a company when I was 16. Moved to Spain, did sales and marketing for a number of UK companies actually, like sports marketing, things like that. I was qualified teeth whitening technician, did that in the UK. Helped my partner with her business, which is like microblading, do all the marketing, managing for that. And obviously when I'm in England, for now I'm a chef in Brentwood. And I'd hope to go on to a water treatment company where they can obviously provide me with a career base, you know. So it is just ticking along, you know. You gotta keep going and use the positives around you.
And you're quite a strong personality, aren't you? Do you think?
Yeah, I think foster care is maybe like that, you know. As I said earlier, you kind of either go into your own hole or you say, well, this is me and, you know, I'm going to go and do it, you know. And I think if you have that mentality, whether or not you're a foster kid or anyone, you know, eventually it will start paying off. But if you sit there and think social service is going to give you GCSEs, they're going to give you a job, they're going to pay for it, you're in dream world, you know. The system's there to help you achieve that rather than for them to give it to you.
Finally, what's your advice to somebody who might be thinking they're not a foster carer, but they might be interested in becoming a foster carer, and what's your advice to them?
seriously sit there and reflect whether or not you can. Well, you got the patience. Definitely need patience. The understanding as well, because obviously each foster kid is going to be completely different to the next one. There is not one of us that's the same. No circumstances going to be the same. Even with my siblings, our circumstances are different. Where we went, they went to children's homes and all sorts. You know, so every kid is different, and as long as you want to make a difference for the right reasons, you know, it shouldn't be about the money. The money is obviously for the job that you do, but it's more about I suppose above and beyond, making sure that you are doing what's right for the system. Because ultimately, if you're not in it for the right reason, you're going to do more damage to a child than just not becoming a foster carer, you know, ultimately. So obviously take time to reflect your own situation with your own children, your own house, you know, and to obviously fully understand if it is something that you want to get into, because it is a big commitment, you know.